Hey, y'all, it's Letitia with Lighten Up for Letitia, and I'm here to talk to you about Tyler Perry's Duplicity. Okay, so this story is about friendships, relationships, and according to the synopsis, a treacherous maze of deception and betrayal. Now, first, let's talk about the definition of duplicity: deceitfulness, double dealing, and synonyms are trickery, hypocrisy, guile, fraud, dissimulation, deception, and deceit. So if you couldn't guess by now, this is what we're going to be talking about today. And if you're ready for this recap, stay tuned. Okay, so let's introduce the players. Now, Marley is a high-powered attorney. Her best friend, Fela, I'm gonna call her Fela just because it's easier, but they were going kind of back and forth in the movie. Anyway, she's a prominent news anchor. Marley's boyfriend is Tony, who's an ex-cop turned private eye. And Kevin is a high-ranking police officer who is kind of sort of in their friend group, but not really. So it starts off when they're all in a spinning class, those four. And Kevin tries to get with Fela, but she is like so disgusted by him. Anyway, Marley wants them to all get together for breakfast, and not Kevin, but her, Fela's husband, Rodney, and her boyfriend, Tony. She wants them to all get together for breakfast. But you can tell something's going on with Fela and Rodney. They're really not feeling each other. They're having issues. And Marley knows a little bit something, but not so much. Well, they're not even kissing each other, not even really acting like they're acknowledging each other. And I thought the first thing that I thought that was interesting about Fela was that she told her husband, she's like, yeah, I need to get to the station, and you need to get on that run, don't you? You need to take your run, because he owns, I think, a series of like fitness centers. So he's an athlete and all that sort of thing, and he goes on a run every day. So anyway, Rodney does indeed go on his run. He's listening to music. And while this is when we see a white woman who's in her home, she receives a telephone call that there is a black man in her backyard. Now she calls 911 and says that someone is breaking into her neighbor's home. Now that is not what the person told her on the phone, but that's just what she assumed, and we'll see what the consequences of that is a little bit later. Now, Kevin is briefing the officers. Now, we find out he's actually Lieutenant Kevin, I forgot his last name, but he is giving a briefing of the crime areas that they need to target, stating specifically that the South Side needs more of their attention because they're experiencing the most crime. And as he lets them out the door, they're leaving, he approaches a young white rookie cop named Caleb, which he knows is from a really small town. And he says, hey, I'm going to be your field officer today, your training officer today. And they head out. Now, he thought that was a little bit interesting, but of course, he's a rookie. He just has to go with the flow with whatever his superior is telling him. Now, again, one thing that I thought was interesting about that was that Kevin told Caleb that if an officer, his field trainer officer, yells out Blicky, G-U-N, then his point is to aim and unalive that suspect, right? So remember that. So although they were tasked to that high crime area that Kevin was talking about, they actually were in a really nice neighborhood. And Caleb kind of asked him about it, but he kind of blew him off, was like, no, this is what we're taking care of today. And during a routine traffic stop, Caleb finishes up with the person that he gave a ticket to, comes back to the car, and we hear Kevin abruptly ending a call. So he was on the call with somebody. Personally, I find that to be suspicious. They're right around the corner when they get this call about this suspicious man walking and breaking into this home. And who is that? That is that brother Rodney. So we see that Rodney comes out. He's listening to his music, so he's not really seeing them or hearing them. And when he goes to grab his phone after they finally got his attention, they think it looks like a blicky. And of course, Kevin yells out the code word, and Caleb commences to popping Rodney. Now back at the news station, because you know at this point Fila is at work, we're introduced to her co-stars Shannon and also their producer Sam, which is who we know as Alan on the Oval. So Fila is working, doing the reporting when there is breaking news. And she has to report that there's an unarmed black man being popped by a white cop. Ended up reporting that it was her own husband. Now, first of all, who the hell wrote that? Now, didn't you know and realize that the last name of the person that you are about to put across the print for your newscaster to announce has the same last name as the actual announcer? If they were not fired, they should definitely have been reprimanded in real life. Like, how insensitive could you be for a person to have to give their own breaking news about their own family member? But I digress. Now we're at the hospital. Everyone's there, including Kevin, the nerve. But at that point, Rodney is pronounced deceased. And Marley, of course, took up the veil and said, hey, she will be taking on this case personally. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because she knows these people personally. But she is determined to turn this city upside down and make this a landmark case. Now, she enlisted the help of Sam, who had, again, that's her producer, who has the best investigative team around, and Shannon as well. And then we're hearing the story about Tony, her boyfriend, who was unjustly fired for stealing some money. Now, quiet as kept, I think that fool did it, but moving on. She won a $300,000 case for him, and she wants to take the city on Marley's behalf and pretty much take them for everything they got. So later, Fila is telling her that she is struggling financially and she doesn't know what she's going to do since Rodney is gone. Rodney had no insurance and all this sort of thing. And this further fuels Marley's drive to win this case. Now, at the funeral, child, the news competitor shows up and gets the soundbite that they need from Fila, because she is going off about them being there and going on and on about the fact that white cops are unaliving black men, and she's mad about it. Kevin shows up at the repast again, unannounced. Well, then he goes straight to Tony. And Tony was like, you shouldn't be here. I'm going to have to call you later. Now, why would you need to be calling him at all?
You don't find that suspicious?
Exactly. So he says he wants to say that he's sorry. It was interesting because I was like, did he really set this up? Now, I believe that he set this whole situation up, but I'm like, did he really do this just so he could get at Fila? Is he trying to get her so badly that he would unalive her husband? I mean, I don't know. We don't know yet. Let's get there. So Tony takes him outside to have the conversation, and they're having this conversation. He's talking about the fact that this case better be clean, but Kevin is like, well, we don't want her to sue the city, but I've heard some bad things about Caleb. And meanwhile, Sam and Shannon are outside, and they are ear hustling and hearing the entire conversation. Now, Marley goes to see the DA's office. She's either in the DA's office or the mayor's office, and she talks to Ina, who is telling Marley that she doesn't know all the facts. And so at this point, we know that Internal Affairs is investigating. Caleb is on administrative leave, but everyone is basically saying that it looks legit. It looked like it was justified. They really did think that what Rodney was pulling out of his hand was a blicky and not his phone because of the way that it looked. So she goes on to show Marley the body cam footage. And Marley can see that Caleb actually, although he did do the pow-powing, he did actually try to help. But then Kevin told him that he was gone. And so they ended up, calling 911. So Ina admits that they are indeed trying to make this a political issue. And that basically they're going to back Caleb, but they're also going to try and take him down, but it's all a political play because of the optics. Now, Marley warns them that by the end of this, they will be begging to settle. Now, Marley tells Tony about it. She's highly upset, said that she saw the footage. He said he saw it too. Again, I know he's a private eye, but how did he get that information? He tries to get Marley to relax and just to lay off the case a bit. So she, she can't sit still, whatever. She goes to see the neighbor that called 911, and the neighbor was like, I will call the police. I will call the police. I'm like, baby, we already know you do that because that's exactly what you did. But she said, well, the Beaumonts that are behind me, they called me to tell me that the man was in the alley. And so she was like, but it was just so sad because, she gave her condolences and everything. She said it was just so sad that he moaned for so long until the ambulance finally came.
You don't find that suspicious?
Anyway, so then Sam and Shannon then get up with Marley, telling them about an anonymous tip that they have. And they have found photos of this 25-year-old woman named Anna Lewis, who Rodney was allegedly having an affair with, right? And that was her house that was in the alley that he was walking in between. And more photos reveal that Tony was actually in those photos. And so at this point, she's like, okay, Fila must know or must be aware that Rodney was indeed having an affair. And she had mentioned how Fila had been acting funny lately. And Shannon and Sam also confirmed that she had been acting funny. So when she confronts Tony about this, he claims that Anna's husband hired him, and that's how he knew about it. And that's why he was in those photos, and that's why he was doing investigation. But I just do not trust Tony. Something about him is very, very off. He claimed that he confronted Rodney about the affair, but that he begged Tony not to tell Fila or to tell Marley, and that he'd never do it again and all that sort of thing, whatever. So Marley is highly upset about this entire situation because she has said throughout the movie that she has trust issues, and him not telling her what was going on in this situation, especially when it was surrounding her best friend's husband, does not do well for her trust issues. And she basically was like, she banished him to the couch. And so then she goes to see Fila, who's in the backyard burning pictures of Rodney, which is really weird because if you really miss somebody upset that they're gone, you would think that you would want to cherish the pictures. But she was saying it was just too much. And Marley ended up asking her if she had any additional information. And when she mentioned like maybe was there an affair, Fila goes off. So finally, Marley backed off of it. And when she comes home that night, child, why did Caleb show up? Trying to plead his case and saying that he was sorry. And I just really want you to tell your friend that I'm sorry. I want to tell her too. Tony comes out, ends up running him off, and then tells Kevin, he calls Kevin to tell him to take care of it. So Kevin then sees or catches up with Caleb, who is at the cemetery at Rodney's place in the cemetery, and tells him basically to back off. He was very apologetic, Caleb was, and he did agree that he would go ahead and lay low. Then Marley receives a call from Sam and Shannon, who find out some additional information about Caleb. Now, let me tell you something. I know the movie is called Duplicity. It really makes you look at everybody in this movie like they cannot be trusted. And I know that Shannon and Sam are her friends or co-workers or whatever, but also, they're not Marley's co-workers, they're Fila's co-workers. But sometimes you can't help but think that, I'm like, are they actually trustworthy? Or are they just investigating just to get the story? Or do they really want to help? And it's just, I always side-eyed them. But anyway, they found out some information about Caleb's military history and an incident where he attacked a Black man and threw out racial slurs. Now, later on, she goes to see Fila, right? Goes to the house, and there's a man jumping out of her window. So she calls the police. And inside, Fila was in there asleep because she had taken a sleeping pill. Now, Tony comes, and then, of course, Kevin comes. They're trying to make sure everything is okay. But Kevin kept saying how, I should watch the house. And again, I'm just like, are you really doing this in order to get with Fila? This is very weird behavior. But he's like, okay, maybe I should just look over the house and everything. But I really believe that it's Caleb. So he's really trying to blame this stuff on Caleb. He said, yeah, we previously had our eyes on him. We were following his car, but we lost him this morning. So I really, again, I feel like, I'm like, are you stalking Fila? I mean, things are just very, very weird. Anyway, she goes inside and Fila is watching news where it was revealed that Rodney was having an affair with this Anna Lewis and that they were looking for her for comment, but had none at this time. Now, Marley didn't know what else to say, but I will say that Fela was like, oh my gosh, here is the public humiliation is getting ready to start. So I'm like, girl, that's probably the least of your worries, but because it seems like Kevin is stalking you, but that's just me. Anyway, Marley was invited back to the DA or the mayor's office, who at this point now is asking her to settle, just like she said they would. So Marley accuses them like, you knew about Caleb's background and you didn't say anything. You just want to protect the city, and you know something needs to be done about this. But Ina is saying how, listen, we do need to protect the city and we need officers. So basically we need to get as many officers as we can out here and basically be damned their backgrounds. But anyway, Marley did threaten her by telling her, listen, no, we'll settle, but I'm telling you, all of your little lavish trips and how you even got in this position are about to be on display. So then they do the announcement on the news that after 3 months of civil unrest, the settlement has been reached between, Fela and the city, child, north of $15 million. Now, Fela at this point is calling for peace, and an arrest warrant has been issued for Caleb, and his whereabouts are unknown. They say he's a fugitive, and he could be armed and dangerous. Now, meanwhile, child, back with Marley and Tony, he has been on the couch, like I told y'all, for months. And Fela hasn't talked to her in months. So she won this settlement and then stopped talking to her friends. Later on, we find out that Sam and Shannon were like, yeah, she stopped talking to us too. Like, what? So did she quit? She must have quit her job as well. I'm thinking, like, how does this even happen? Don't you think that is suspicious as well, that she would just take the money and run and never speak to y'all again? That is very strange, especially you don't have any kind of gratitude to your friend for getting you the settlement. Anyway, so Marley leaves for the gym. She runs into Sam and Shannon, who then tells her, basically gives her a short update. But when they leave, she goes to her car and this black van pulls up, snatches her off the street. And inside is Caleb, that Anna Lewis, who was having an affair with Rodney, and Caleb's wife, Jennifer, who happens to be a black woman. Okay, and the wife, Jennifer, by the way, is our girl Nefertiti that plays on The Family Business. Now, Anna reveals that she and Kevin dated for about a year after she broke up with her husband, and then he got very possessive and she broke it off. And he continued to stalk her to the point where she had to change her name, move, and everything. And Kevin talked about Marley all the time. So here's a twist. So he wasn't running after Fela. He has a thing actually for Marley. Talked about Marley all the time, even to the point where he wished he had married her. That is weird too. Anyway, Anna met Rodney at his self-defense class. And Rodney was out here playing Captain Saver, you know what? And told her basically, you don't have to run from Kevin anymore. You don't have to worry about being stalked. I'm going to take care of you. So the threesome are telling them, listen, we're desperate. Because the city is trying to ruin my reputation, talking about Caleb. And we need help. Please take my number. So Marley did indeed take the number. She starts to do some additional research on Kevin. And remember when she did the case to win that money for Tony, she had learned a lot about zoning and with the police department. So she learned that not only was Kevin a lieutenant, he was always assigned to Zone 7. But on the day of the unalivement of Rodney, he was in and working in Zone 7, which Caleb said was highly unusual. So Sam and Shannon come in to meet her. She called them to come and meet her at Kimmy and Angel and Rain's spot. It was a city motel that looked just like, so if you know, Beauty and Black. She went to the spot there, and that's where the other three are inside. Now, finally, Caleb realizes that Kevin set him up. Even though he tried to help save Rodney, Kevin said that he was unalive when he actually wasn't. So when he was confronted, Caleb was confronted about the racial slurs and the black man that he beat up. Jennifer piped up and said he was there saving and protecting me because that man was actually doing something to her. So Caleb beat his tail, and he never did throw any of those racial slurs out. So apparently that was a lie. So Anna went on to tell about the fact that you guys do not know Kevin that well. He can be really sweet and gentle, but he's also a second person where he can be very evil. And again, he started to be abusive to her. And she said she had proof. So she said in a rental home that they used to go to all the time, she put she had a phone that she hid there that had all sorts of videos and pictures and things that proved that Kevin was not the person and the upstanding lieutenant that we think that he is. And she gave her the code to it and then the address. So why does Marley head over to the house alone? I don't understand, girl. And it's so funny. This house was so beautiful, gorgeous. It was huge. And I wasn't sure where she was going when she just pulled up like that. I thought it was maybe Fila's new house because, we found out that Fila, not only was she ignoring these people that she was friends with, she also moved and didn't tell anybody. So I thought that, maybe this is a new big house or whatever. This is Fila's house. No, it wasn't. Next thing you know, Tony comes up behind her, scaring her half to death. And very suspiciously, why was he there? He was there because he said he had just heard some information about Kevin and he was coming to check it out. So they were both there at the same time. Next thing you know, Kevin pulls up in Charles's yellow Lambo, talking about, come on in. Since it's a TP reference, I'm just going to make it. They must love this yellow Lamborghini because here it comes again. Now, Kevin is in it, but I am looking like, okay, sir, you're on a cop salary. You have this huge home. You have this Lambo. And, Tony did make reference to it because the house itself was super beautiful. So they actually do go inside. And I'm like, Marley.
You in danger, girl.
Okay, you should have left. You should have got your butt back in your car and just rolled out. Anyway, they go inside. And she goes to the bathroom looking around for this phone, which she does find under one of the drawers. And she starts to watch it, which I'm kind of like, girl, are you going to send that to somebody or just put it in your drawers and go? So finally she goes, and wait. So when you look on the videos, not only is Kevin on the videos, that jigga Tony is on the videos as well. Like, are you serious? This is her boyfriend being implicated in all these videos with this girl, Anna Lewis. So we now know he is in cahoots with Kevin. So she has got to get out of there. He's calling her like, you okay and everything. So she thought she was going to get on past him. Yeah, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to see you later. I'm going to see you back at home. But y'all, she can't get out that door because it is locked. And Kevin has her keys and Tony has her phone, child. He said, no, Kevin is taking us on the boat. And so let's go. They ended up tackling her because she tried to run. They gave her something to knock her out. And they took her through the back to the water, threw her on a boat. And of course, the predictable, this wee-atch Fila shows up on the boat. I always knew that Fila was somehow involved in this situation. And that is what was so predictable about this situation. So they take her out further on the water. Their goal is to put weights on her, drop her to the bottom, and then all will be well, right? But that doesn't work because she wakes up. Fila comes over to her and tells her, shoot, I was not about to be embarrassed because he was going to leave me, talking about her husband, Rodney. He was going to leave me for that girl, and I was not about to be embarrassed with the divorce in public. So they staged this coup and then used the political narratives to make it a big thing. Next thing you know, the Coast Guard or the Marine that's out there on the water pulls up to them, starts questioning them about what's going on. Why is Marley laying there? Like, oh, she's seasick or whatever. He questions them and he thought something was awry. He goes to reach for his blicky and Kevin pow-pows him, child. And they sink his boat. So then they put the weights on Marley. They drop her in the water. She wakes up. Now she's woken at this point, whatever, but she does end up getting out. But then they notice that the Coast Guard is actually floating. And they were like, we can't have him floating or whatever. We got to sink him as well, whatever. So while they're fooling with this body, Marley has been able to get out of these chains. She was able to swim up to the boat, catch her breath. And so don't tell me black folks can't swim, because she sure enough did. She caught her breath, and then all of a sudden there's a blast and Fila goes over the boat. Child, Marley has a flare gun and she got to popping folks. Next, she burnt up Kevin. He went overboard. And then here go Tony. Oh, baby, baby, please. All this other kind of stuff. His duplicitous ass, she blew him away as well, burning all the way into the water. And then she threw up the last flare for help. And that was all she wrote. Now, in present day, we go to the news where Marley and Caleb are being interviewed by Shannon because they're the real heroes of this entire situation. Of course, all of the charges have been dropped against Caleb. And everyone is shocked about how they were fooled by their very own news anchor, lovable Fila Blackburn. She deceived the entire city. And this was, and Marley interested, she talked about the fact that she was like, you know, this does nothing for my trust issues. But then she goes on to give a monologue with a very PC response, which I guess is supposed to be the lesson learned in this thing, is that in each of these cases, for when something happens with the police, they should be taken seriously and investigated objectively. And I feel like that would work in a perfect world, and that's the way it should be, but we'll hope. Now, my takeaways from this is for Marley to be an attorney with all of these trust issues, her intuition was just turned all the way off. She had all these trust issues, but she was trusting all of the wrong people. She ignored way too many red flags, and she was putting her actual trust in people that just were not trustworthy at all. Because Rodney was a cheater, Fila was a liar, Tony was a fraud, and Kevin was so cunning to put all of this stuff together, and every last one of them were duplicitous. And so I say to them, in the words of our good sis, Sinclair James.
Well, I guess this teaches you that deceit and duplicity don't pay.
So if you made it this far, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I rate this a solid 7 because I'll give a 7.5 because the acting was really good. I like these actors. It's Tyler Perry, if he does nothing else, I'm telling you, it's gonna look good. Always looks good. He has good looking people. But baby, this story, no. This story was very predictable in a lot of ways. It was just okay. You know, if you like it, you want to support Tyler Perry, definitely go ahead and give it a watch. But like I said, it's a 7.5 for me. You tell me what you think about it in the comments. Let's discuss. And let me know what you thought of Tyler Perry's Duplicity. And until the next time, holla.